What is going on, everybody? Today I will be previewing the 2024 college football schedule for Wyoming. I will go through every game on their schedule and I will predict which games on the schedule I think they will win, and I will also predict which games on the schedule I think they will lose. But before we get into talking about their schedule, let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you will love this channel because we upload daily college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel, so definitely consider subscribing. And also consider joining my Discord server down in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Head coach Greg Bull will step away from Wyoming after 10 pretty successful seasons at Wyoming, but next up we will see defensive coordinator Jay Sawville step up and take over the head coaching role. So we'll see what he has in store for Wyoming football. Wyoming will have some question marks next season with some of the offensive talent they lost. And they also lost some key players on defense, but they do return 60% of production on defense, which is top 35 in the country. They will have to find a new quarterback. Evan played backup to Andrew Peasley last season, and if we want to see more success on the offensive side, we will need to see Evan step up and be that guy to lead the team, and we will need to see more from the passing attack of Wyoming. Some people do expect this Wyoming team to fall off next season, but on the bright side, they haven't lost much talent to the transfer portal, and they also do return some decent production. I think Wyoming will still be a very solid team, and they are a very tough team to beat on the road. In fact, Wyoming went undefeated in their home games last season, and they were a pretty solid team. And I do expect them to be a solid team next year as well, even if they do take a bit of a step down. But anyways, let's get into predicting their schedule. And they opened the season playing on the road against Arizona State. Arizona State was not a great team last season, but I do think this team is heading in the right direction with Kenny Dillingham as head coach. Arizona State has the 7th best recruiting class in the Big 12, and they also have the 3rd best transfer portal class. Kenny Dillingham is building a future for this team, but I do expect it to take a couple more years for Arizona State to possibly be a top contender. But this is a game early in the season that Arizona State will have at home, and I think Arizona State actually has enough talent to beat Wyoming. So I have Wyoming losing their first game of the season and moving to 0-1 on the season. The next game for Wyoming will be at home against Idaho. Idaho used to be an FBS team. In fact, they were the first team to drop from the FBS level to the FCS level. But Idaho has recently been a pretty good FCS team. They competed with California last season, and they beat Nevada by 27 points. They are basically at the skill of a below-average FBS team, and I would not be surprised to see Idaho put up a fight against Wyoming. But I do have Wyoming winning this game at home, and I have Wyoming moving to 1-1 on the season. The next game for Wyoming will be at home against BYU, and similar to the game against Arizona State, this is definitely a winnable game for Wyoming. BYU and Arizona State both have their weaknesses, and they aren't great teams. BYU will probably be favorites in this game, but since I had Wyoming losing to Arizona State, I think they win this game against BYU because they have home field advantage in this game, and BYU is usually a team that could play up to competition, but they also play down to competition. And honestly, Wyoming might have similar talent to this BYU team, and like I said, it is hard to bet against Wyoming when they have home field advantage. So I have Wyoming winning this game and move it to 2-1 on the season. The next game for Wyoming is on the road against North Texas. This is another game where I would not be surprised if they won it or they lost it. North Texas was a pretty competitive team last season despite going 5-7. They had a pretty solid offense last season, but they do only return 40% of the offensive production from 2023, which ranks 115th in the country. They found some other replacements in the transfer portal, and I still expect them to be a decent group of 5 team, but I do think Wyoming will win this game because they play defense, and they should be able to limit the offense of North Texas. So I have Wyoming winning this game and move it to 3-1 on the season. Because at the end of the day, good defenses beat good offenses. But after their game against North Texas, they will start conference play, and none of the conference game dates have been announced yet, so the schedule is kind of all over the place. But the next game for Wyoming will be on the road against Colorado State. I actually really like this Colorado State team heading into 2024. Jay Norvell is a good head coach, and he's only getting started at Colorado State. He has proven that he could build a Mountain West team from the ground up when he led Nevada to 4 consecutive bowl games. Colorado State has a lot of positives going forward, and they rank top 40 in returning production. I like the defense, and I think Colorado State will be better next season. So I do have Wyoming losing a difficult road game to Colorado State and moving to 3-2 on the season. The next game for Wyoming is on the road against New Mexico. New Mexico is a pretty bad team, but they aren't a team that you should take lightly, because they showed that they can upset teams in the past, like last season when they beat Fresno State. And the new head coach Bronco Mendenhall has a pretty good track record. This team could potentially be better within the next couple of seasons. Now, I do not expect New Mexico to win any more than 4 or 5 games next season, but I do think they could possibly upset a team or two next season, and I have Wyoming actually dropping this game on the road against New Mexico, and I have Wyoming moving to 3-3 on the season. I don't have Wyoming losing to any other bad teams, but I just have a feeling that this is the type of game Wyoming could slip up in. I could very well be wrong, but I have to make some bold predictions, and I think this outcome is actually pretty possible. The next game for Wyoming is on the road against San Jose State. San Jose State was a pretty solid team last season, but they were very inconsistent, and they knew how to score points. But ultimately, they only scored 14 points in their bowl game against Coastal Carolina to end the season, and now they only returned 32% of that offensive production from last season, which ranks 127th in the whole country. I expect San Jose State to be an okay team next season, but I do have Wyoming winning this game and move it to 4-3 on the season. The next game for Wyoming is at home against Air Force. Last season, Wyoming lost to Air Force in a very close game. Both these teams lost some talent, but Air Force actually ranks last in the whole country for return in production, and I think Wyoming will be a better team than Air Force is next season. Wyoming will have this game at home, and I expect this to be a lower scoring defensive battle, but I think Wyoming will beat Air Force in 2024. So I have Wyoming moving to 5-3 on this season. The next game for Wyoming is at home against Boise State. Boise State is actually my favorite team out of the group of 5 to make the 12-team playoffs. Spencer Danielson is a great leader for this team, and he's already making a big impact after leading them to the Mountain West Championship victory when there was doubt that this Boise State team was going to have their first losing season since the late 1990s. Yeah, that's a very long time, and it would be unrealistic to not consider Boise State a top contender to make the 12-team playoffs, with Spencer Danielson turning their season around in 2023. The defense is going to be good. The run game has a chance to be very dangerous. And they also brought in 5-star quarterback Malachi Nelson from USC out of the transfer portal. I really like this Boise State team, and I think they are good enough to win a tough road game against Wyoming. So I have Wyoming losing this game and moving to 5-4 on the season. The next game for Wyoming is at home against San Diego State. San Diego State went 4-8 last season, and their offense was atrocious. But they did a spectacular job in the transfer portal at bringing in offensive players who can make a big impact in 2024. There's no way the offense should be as bad as it was this past season. They brought in quarterback AJ Duffy from Florida State, and they brought in a very solid tight end from USC. And they also brought in tight end Michael Harrison from Colorado as well. And they brought in 4 wide receivers. The defense was decent last season, and if the offense could be at least average, then this team could very well be a 6-win team or better. San Diego State is usually a consistently good team, but last season was brutal for San Diego State. But next season is a fresh start, so we'll see what they can do. But I think Wyoming will win this game at home because I trust Wyoming more than I do San Diego State. So I have Wyoming moving to 6-4 on the season. The next game for Wyoming is at home against Utah State. Utah State is a pretty interesting team to me. I think they have a chance to be a breakout Mountain West team. I'm not necessarily predicting that they will be better, but I think there's potential. They went 6-7 the last 2 seasons, and in 2021 they actually won 11 games. And next season they returned 67% of production, which ranks top 38 in the whole country. So honestly, I would not be surprised to see Utah State win more than 6 games in 2024. They picked up 2 transfer portal quarterbacks, Bryson Barnes from Utah and Spencer Petras from Iowa. The defense was very bad last season, but they return a lot. So we'll see if we see improvement from Utah State in 2024. But again, I trust Wyoming more, so I do have Wyoming winning this game at home, and I have them move it to 7-4 on the season. And the last game for Wyoming is on the road against Washington State. Washington State lost their 2 biggest players on the offensive side with Cam Ward and Josh Kelly leaving. So this Washington State team has to kind of reset themselves in 2024. They are going to be playing pretty easy competition, and I expect Washington State to be better than a majority of the teams in the Mountain West. I think the defense for Washington State could be a bit underrated, and I think the defense could help them win games. They brought in one of the top linebackers out of the transfer portal, Keith Brown from Louisville. They did pretty solid in the transfer portal, and I think they could be a decent team next season. And honestly, I don't expect them to be much worse than they were last season. Losing Cam Ward and Josh Kelly and all the other talent will hurt, but I like what they still have on the roster, and they did a good job in the transfer portal. So I think Washington State will beat Wyoming, since they will have this game at home. So I do have Wyoming finishing with a 4-3 conference record and a 7-5 overall record on the season. Last season, Wyoming finished the regular season with an 8-4 record, but I think they will take a bit of a step back in 2024. They lost their coach, and they lost some key guys on the team, but I do expect Wyoming to still be solid, and I can trust the defense of Wyoming, and home field advantage for Wyoming will play a huge factor next season. But you guys let me know down in the comments below how many games you think Wyoming will win in 2024. But that's going to do it for the video. Let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel, because we upload daily college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing, and also consider joining my Discord server down in the description below. But that's going to do it, guys, and peace out.